Wow. So before we segue into cybersecurity, which is what all of our roots are, I want to kind of quickly talk about an article that the CISO of Bank of America, Craig Froelich, had talked about. Again, just going back to the how, and it struck me because it makes it for the average person to understand, okay, how do we go about this? Because it was just very impactful. Just quickly read through that. He said there are really 4 steps. The first one is you cannot be a bolt-on. It has to be included into your diversity inclusion efforts and tie into your overall business strategy, which I found really profound, right? It actually starts with, it actually impacts your business if you do it right. The second is a learning approach, which again I found was really interesting to hear, which is like you won't know it all. You come across new forms of this and evolution, so therefore you got to keep learning. The third is to identifying neurodivergent individuals to get a better sense of who are the people in your organization and what are they bringing to the table. And the last one is creating workplace flexibility. And he gave this really small but highly impactful example of saying, hey, maybe somebody has an amplified sense of hearing, so therefore he or she needs to have headphones when they work, right? Such a small thing, but highly impactful for that individual. So taking this and then segueing into cybersecurity, right, which is all about risk. So again, let's start with you, Andy. I know you've built a really amazing culture back at Akamai when you were there. How did you go about doing this? And again, talking about the how, any successes, failures, so others can learn from your journey.
So a lot of trial and error. Let me just be very clear on getting anything right means you probably got a bunch of things wrong. But the core element was recognizing that when you're being inclusive to one person, you're not taking away from anybody else. And that's actually a thing that HR departments often struggle with, and corporate services teams really do, because they're very worried. They're like, oh, well, if we do this one thing for this person, then everybody's going to ask for something. And they might, and that's not really a bad thing. So it involved listening. We had, we moved into our new building and we had an employee that had a light sensitivity. Like he could literally basically see the flicker in the lights. And, the line, corporate services staff were like, well, we're not going to adjust the lighting for one person. And it just took a quick conversation with the head of corporate services, who was like, of course we'll adjust the lighting. And literally we took this person and they got to go on the tour of the building to measure every lighting. And we could tinker with the controls until we found something that was going to be more accommodating. And everybody who saw that happen saw that in themselves and said, wow, if I have a problem that something doesn't work for me, hey, Andy's going to go for bat for me. The head of corporate services will go for bat for me. And that built this model that people said, hey, we have a place here. And so it's not even just about the benefits of having people who think differently, attacking your problems. It's just the benefit of keeping people happy. When I left Akamai, the previous 15 months, my team, which was 95 people, had 0 turnover. Because everybody felt like they had a place in that building, even of course when we weren't in the building and we're all remote.
Wow. So Sandy, just double clicking on that a little bit, right? Again, you touched upon something which now it almost bridges a CISO and what you're doing as a leader to HR goals, which is to have low attrition. And then back to what we keep hearing about, hey, we have this huge gap, cyber skills gap. And here you are doing this one of many things, but what you talked about away, but suddenly you're advancing the business goals, right? Of keeping people happy, wanting people to join Andy's team because of what he is doing, right? So again, kudos to you for that. Diana, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that Andy said that really sticks out is that a lot of times people feel that if you're going to make, quote, exceptions for neurodiverse people, that's not fair to everyone else. And that's not what this is about at all. Diverse teams are more successful, and inclusive teams, inclusive organizations are more successful. So you can do it for exactly what Andy was talking about. You're going to have people that are going to stay. That's better for the company. That's better in the long run. And it's really about just meeting people where they are. So I had a team that I was managing at one point in my career, and we had somebody with ADHD on the team, and this team had to hit deadlines. The whole team, our success was depended on everybody in the team hitting the deadlines that we had to meet. So if one person didn't meet it, we were in trouble. So now I have somebody with ADHD on this team. And you might think, okay, that's going to be a really big challenge, but it was about meeting this person where they were. They needed a lot more feedback from me, a lot more check-ins. They needed more guidance. I had other members of this team that they could be at the beginning of the quarter, hear what they needed to hit at the end of the quarter. And I knew that the best thing for me to do is to stay out of the way, check in with them on our biweekly calls. And that was it. With my employee who had ADHD, it was a much closer relationship. And it was really me helping them to stay focused. So the rules were the same for everybody. Everybody had to get the deliverables in at the time. But as a manager, I had to meet the employees where they were. And I think that that's something that can really help, is that you're not changing the rules. You're just meeting people where they are. And sometimes you have to be flexible with your management style.